So my first time here in person at the DevRel Con, so it's really great to attend here, but also be able to speak here. So thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you, Floor, for convincing me that I submit this session. So let's see if this clicker works. Yeah, it does. So maybe this face is completely new to you, because I'm mostly known as this pixel art avatar. Not related to any NFT stuff, please. So I'm a senior French engineer, so thanks to Ben for inspiring me for that title. I really like it. Azure MVP, co-organizer of Serverless Days Amsterdam, and I really like to draw pixel art. So that's definitely my creative skill. Before I start the actual talk, though, I want to quickly pitch Speaker Buddy. Some people already have heard about it. I'm not going to tell a lot about it because there's no time for it. But if you are organizing or co-organizing a conference, definitely have a look at this link, because I think we can make the world a bit easier and better for speakers by having it more welcoming for them to submit their session and have them more inclusivity when they speak at a conference. All right, so I'm going to talk about my own personal experience, how I applied my creative skill in my developer community, which is more like .NET, Azure, serverless. So it's going to be mostly about me. I'm sorry. I will try to give you some tips on how you can apply maybe your creative skills. I'll conclude with some people I really admire and are really inspiring in their creative outlets. So, yeah, what is your creative skill? For some people, it might be like super obvious. Maybe you're good in painting, or maybe you're like a great dancer, or maybe you're like a great singer, or maybe you think you are a great singer. But sometimes it's not really so obvious. And so maybe you're good at gardening. You like gardening. Maybe you bake cookies. Maybe you like knitting. It can be anything. A lot of different things can resonate with your audience, and we'll see it at the end of this session. So for me, it started when I created this retro game, and it's about Azure Functions, and I created this really specifically for that audience. It was like super fun to create this. This was actually the first time that I created a game in general. You can still play it if you visit this link. It was really well received in the Azure and serverless community, and even some Microsoft folks were playing it. So Jeff Holland was the Azure Functions program manager at that time. He really enjoyed it. And even the Azure CTO, Marc Duiker, was playing it, although he got stuck on level 3. And there were like 7 levels, so I mean, is that the Azure CTO? Okay. But okay. Creating the game was really nice, but it's also a lot of work, and there's still like coding involved, right, in creating a game. So I really like it if I can get a good result in hours instead of weeks. So I changed focus a bit and just started drawing. And initially I started drawing in this editor. So this is part of the Pico 8 virtual console thing. It's really lovely, but it's also like very limiting. You only have like an 8x8 grid and just a very limited number of colors. But you get a bit more creative when you have these limitations. So I focused on just the drawing part and just made some very low resolution things which I shared online. And this really got me hooked on pixel art. So, well, we're all in developer relations, so I hope you know who your audience is, where they hang out, how you can talk with them, and so on. So I'm not going to give you a lot of advice on that. My audience, I already told you what my audience is. They're mostly active on Twitter, or were mostly active on Twitter. Now mostly also on Mastodon. And combining pixel art in that audience started when I was attending a Microsoft Build 2020. So it was the first virtual event from Microsoft. And these are images of the hosts. So I drew avatars from all of the hosts. And I shared that during the conference, and the hosts were picking it up. They really liked it. They even changed their Twitter profiles with these drawings, except for the Coca. And Scott Goo. Scott Goo didn't really play along. I don't know. But they're really liking it, and also the community responded really positively about this. This was like a very nice first introduction of pixel art in the developer community. Another thing which followed some weeks later was this VS Code extension. So who heard of VS Code pads? some hands. That's pretty good. So this is really a must-have if you use VS Code. It's the best extension out there. I mean, there are over 200,000 installs of this extension. It's amazing. So when I first saw this, it was like only a virtual cat and a dog. And well, I really had to contribute to this open source project, right? So it's on GitHub. And yeah, this was like a perfect creative outlet for me to provide some more pixel art. So that's what I did over the last 2 years. So some of them were my ideas, like Clippy and another Python snake, ducky. Of course, Ferris is there, that was requested. And even someone requested a pet rock. So that's why is there a rock? I don't know. But the .NET team requested a mod to the .NET bot recently, so that's why that's there. So yeah, I hope to contribute more of this in the future. Well, staying authentic is, I think, really one of the biggest parts in DevRel, I think, right? Because we have to be believable and trustworthy, and that can only work if you are authentic. It's also like a very personal thing, right? I mean, my authenticity is different than your authenticity, so I can't really give tips on how you do that. The way I do it is, I try to stay modest and humble, and I'm not oversharing. I'm not always including pixel art when I want to share something. And when I share some... Bless you, I think. But when I share something, it is usually with pixel art, but it's not about technology or something related to work. So, for instance, I like 80s series a lot, or 80s toys. So I really get a lot of inspiration from that. These days I really find it more interesting to also share big personal events in the form of pixel art animations. So winning a Microsoft MVP award, but also like responding to events in the community. I have a preference now of sharing this in this way, which feels more genuine and personal to me, instead of just responding with a text message. So finding balance is really tricky because when you are, let's say, more well-known, that you have a certain creative skill, people would like to jump on that train, and they ask a lot of things from you, which of course is nice. It's nice to be wanted, but it can also be quite overwhelming. So you have to be really careful that you don't take on too much work. You have to learn to say no as well, and you have to be careful for creative burnout. So for me, right after that MS Build 2020 conference, a lot of people approached me for pixel art avatars. So I created literally hundreds of them in the course of several weeks. And first I thought, oh wow, this is amazing, this is so cool. But quickly I realized, oh my God, no, now I have like a second job next to my already regular job. So I was really quite overwhelmed, and I actually stopped drawing like for a couple of weeks afterwards because it was really too much. And these aren't even all of them. So these days I have a number of open commission slots. So if people really want something for themselves, so not really for the community, I just ask money for it, right? Because why not? I give them some of my time and expertise. So I really like to help people out with drawing logos for their open source projects or for their user groups, for instance. And I also help other people with their personal branding as well. And but also is a nice bonus is I can get to use pixel art in my own work and my own demos I created, right? So I created this demo for Ably like a couple of months ago with some really basic low resolution pixel arts, but I think it really adds some nice engagement for it. So we conclude with some people I really admire for their creativity. So I'll go a bit fast, but you probably recognize most of them. Let's start with Forrest. I mean, he's a great guy, very funny. He is amazing in creating these really silly songs about the cloud and about IT in general. He's also a great sketchnoter, by the way. So there's Chloe. So she has a professional background in theater, and she's using that background in a lot of her social messaging, but she's also advocating for a more diverse IT community, which I think is really great. Then there's David. Well, he has like an awesome beard, but that's not a skill. But he can draw really well, and I also like his dad jokes. I'm also a big dad joke fan. And he's also like monetizing his creative skill because you can now buy his book, which I think is a great idea. There's Leon. So I think she's the queen of karaoke. I mean, sorry, Floor. I mean, you're also good, but I think Leon is the queen of karaoke. Wherever Leon goes, there's karaoke around her. But she makes her own clothes, and this is like a coach dress that she made. And she makes her own skirts with pockets. So I really love to see whatever she creates. Now it's your turn, Floor, because you really like knitting and cross-stitching, and you often incorporate some IT-related designs in there, and you use Excel for all these designs, which I find hilarious. This is Jo. She used to be my manager at Ably. She's also incredibly creative, and she has really a skill for combining textiles with IoT. So what you see in the background is a live captioning face mask that she used to communicate with her mother during the pandemic to keep her safe. This is really super cool. Last but not least, Cassidy. I love her humor. She creates all of these videos about CSS, front-end development, IT in general, and she's also like a mechanical keyboard designer these days. So, yeah, a lot of creative, inspiring folks. I hope I've given you some tips and inspiration, and I'd love to see your creative expressions in the community soon. Thank you.